Thank you, Ross, for taking the time to do this interview and to speak with our Seattle Biostat faculty at this retreat.
Hi, Biostatistics faculty. I hope you're having a nice retreat today. And I'm sorry I can't be joining you. Maybe I'll pop in if I'm able to.
What were the founding goals and early catalysts for building biostatistics at Fred Hutch, and how did you envision its scientific role in those early years?
When I came to the Hutch in 1974, it was actually a program in epidemiology and biostatistics. But the Hutch was at a very early stage. There was no building. There was no annual budget. And so I actually shared an office with epidemiologist Noel Weiss across the street from Swedish Hospital in my first year until the Hutch building on First Hill opened. So there wasn't a lot of formality about planning for what a biostatistics program might entail at that juncture. We had a really wonderful senior leader in Donovan Thompson, who was then chair of biostatistics at the University of Washington. Great personal characteristics, encouraged openness and enjoyment. So it was a very supportive environment for deciding, looking to see what we could try to build. And the opportunities were really twofold. It was collaboration with the other groups that were coming together to form this new Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center, then called. And that included good groups, especially I think the E. Donnell Thomas group that pioneered bone marrow transplantation, and one of his colleagues, Reiner Storb, was excellent to work with. I worked with him quite a lot in my first 10 years at the Hutch. So there was collaboration, not just with the clinical division, but some of the basic science divisions. And there was also a desire to develop an independent research program, including biostatistical methodology. And a lot of that complemented the collaborative consulting that I just mentioned, but some of it also to help build the epidemiology and biostatistics group, which eventually became public health sciences. And so that, I think the context and that public health potential really had important implications for how we functioned. We needed, in this new entity where public health was not the first thing that came to most of our colleagues' minds, we needed to develop funded research and look after our own interest. Space was a really big challenge for actually the first 20 years. The biggest challenge that's typical of a biomedical context. So we had those kind of challenges, but it was an exciting time. It was entrepreneurial. We knew we had to look after ourselves. Bill Hutchison was the director at the time. He was a surgeon. He was an enjoyable character, but very austere. So if we asked him for money for anything, we might get half of what we asked for. So we had to, on the other hand, it was a much easier time for getting federal grants. There wasn't quite the level of detailed scrutiny that we've had in the last 2 or 3 decades. So actually my first R01, it was so informal, I forgot to renew it. And then, I just expired. So I wrote to one of the administrators at NIH and said, can I send it in now? And they said, okay. And they reviewed it without skipping any cycle and got it refunded. Anyway, quite a different scenario, but an exciting time. And so biostatistics, had the potential for valuable collaborations with these excellent colleagues and clinical and basic sciences coming together to form this new institution. And we had a chance to make a mark in the population science, public health arena.
What cultural elements or mentoring practices at Hutch have been most important for attracting and developing top biostatisticians?
One cultural element is the expectation that you develop your own research program. You look after your own interest, and you try to avoid being unduly dependent on other people, as good as they may be and as well-intentioned as they might be. If they don't have similar research goals to you, you might end up losing out. And so in my early years, after we started to succeed in developing a larger program, not only in biostatistics, but in public health sciences, I was a member of external advisory committees at multiple other cancer centers that were trying to develop similar groups. And they mostly didn't succeed very well. And it was, in my view, largely because they didn't or maybe weren't given the opportunity to develop their independent research and to ensure their place in what their institution's values are. So that's a cultural element, and it actually pervades our colleagues at the University of Washington as well, who even the tenured faculty divide up their salary support, so others that are engaged in collaborative research can join in the teaching program and so on. Another development that took place, the Hutch almost imploded in the late 1970s when it was time for Bill Hutchison to give up being director. I won't go into the details, don't have the time, but it actually led kind of by coincidence to Bob Day being asked to be the center director. And Bob had been the dean of the School of Public Health, University of Washington, for 10 years. And it was a great boon for our group when Bob moved over. He knew about public health. He was a public health scientist himself. He encouraged our development. And I think quite a lot of what was able to be achieved in those years, 1980s and 1990s, wouldn't have happened without Bob.
The partnership with UW Biostatistics, how has that evolved over the years, and what were the successful experiences?
That's been an unusually enjoyable and congenial relationship for a very long time. I'm not all that familiar with the current level of interaction, but for me, my early years, my colleagues were primarily the small group of faculty in biostatistics at the University of Washington. I think it was 5 or 6 total faculty members when I joined. Had regular appointments there and opportunity for graduate student advising, etc. Beyond that, we had regular meetings of the leadership as our program in biostatistics as the Division of Public Health Sciences developed. We had parallel meetings with the chairs of the departments in the School of Public Health for years and years. Those may have fallen off a little bit. Leaders change, deans change, but that's something I would encourage, retaining what we have or returning if we can recover some of that very good relationship. So on the whole, it's, we see ourselves, I think, both based at the Hutch and Department of Biostatistics, University of Washington, as one group. Department of Statistics comes into that too sometimes, and we're definitely stronger together than if we try to develop separately.
Could you name the signature strength of biostatistics today and what we should aim for going forward?
It's really a mindset of, we're independent researchers. We love to collaborate with others, but we look after our administrative needs and opportunities largely on our own, with good coordination with the other elements of the institution. but we want to be in a position where we can stand out nationally and internationally, but for national research developments, to be a part of those, that other groups think, okay, the Hutch, they got this great history of research and collaboration. Let's see if we can get them involved. So that's a signature strength, which I am quite confident that you and others are going to carry on.